Hello dear tea friends from around the world. Welcome to a new tea class with me, Stéphane Erler. I'm the founder of the Tea Masters blog and the tea-masters.com tea boutique. I'm making these tea classes so that you better understand tea, so that you also better know how to brew the teas that are on my selection in my web store. And we are still in the midst of this Seasons of Dongding sampler. We have finished the first part where we studied each tea in comparison with another using porcelain, Gaiwan, for more neutrality and really a very almost scientific way of studying the tea, but studying the tea and analyzing it for its strengths and weakness is only one part of the job. Actually, this has a purpose. Actually, what we want is to use this information, this knowledge, to make the best cup of tea possible. And this is more the setting that I'm looking for to achieve that. Chaxi. We are today brewing the Spring 2024 roasted, charcoal roasted Oolong from Oolong in the Dongding terroir. Last week, if you remember, we brewed another spring tea, which was the competition Dongding, also a Qingxing, but it's from the competition, coming from Shaninchi and roasted in the Dongding region, actually in Jushan, and then submitted to the competition in Dongding, in Lugu. And this now is a little bit a different tea. We saw it that it's less roasted. It was harvested last year on April the 11th. And what is interesting, let me make now, before we continue with this tea, talk about this spring's harvest. So this spring's harvest, for instance, this farmer told me he's going to harvest the same plantation as this, where this tea comes from, this year on April 18th, so exactly 1 week later. And this week I've been to Alishan to select my Jinshuan from Juefeng in Meishan Alishan. And also over there, the same thing is, we had a almost 1 week delay. Last year the Jinshuan was harvested end of March, and this year it was harvested on April the 5th, so also 1 week later. This is caused this year by several waves of cold weather that have slowed the growth of our tea leaves, in not only in the mountains in Alishan, but also in Dongding. And so this year the leaves had a bit less time to grow fully. They had to be picked before the next wave of cold. Today actually is again only 20 degrees Celsius, a big drop from yesterday. It was over 30. So this year's spring in Taiwan is a little bit like a lot of ups and downs, and the cold waves are later than usual and a little bit longer than usual. They're not especially low, so there's not so much frost problem as we had several years ago. So we did not have any extreme lows, but we had long lows. We did not have a drought. The rain was sufficient, was good, but it was colder than usual, and this cold has delayed the harvests for many oolongs in Taiwan. And this has also caused the leaves, for instance for the Jinshuan, to be less grown and to be processed at a colder temperature. And this colder temperature process helps to give more high mountain character to the leaves. So for this year, the Jinchuan is really on the side of the high mountain character. Light oxidation, light flavors, very flowery, still picked by hand at an elevation of 1,000 meters. So it has the characteristics of high mountain oolong, but a price of Jinchuan, so a really very good buy. And I'm looking forward to the Qingxing harvests later in the month. I will let you know when they are ready for order. So far, we have the Bilochun, we have a Sujichun from Nantou, and now this Jinchuan from Alishan. Now, let's come back to our Dongding Oolong from spring 2024. We are going to brew it in this small Yixing Juni teapot. We preheat it. Today is cold. Start on the outside. Now, the first preheating is a way for you to calm down, learn to control the flow of the water. As you see, when I'm talking and doing it at the same time, it does not go so well. So it really is important to be quiet. Let's bring the cups close to each other. Put the charter away. Now, we are brewing a spring oolong like last week, so again I decided to go with the orchid, the flower that symbolizes spring in the Chinese culture. This time I did not have, I'm not using the mountain painting since we are not brewing a mountain tea. It's a bit hilly, but it's not very high. There are mountains on the horizon, not very far. But so I chose to use a painting that is also very spring-like with the flowers and little birds. And for the chabu, green, and all these little symbols. And for me, are also a bit. They remind me of the reflection of the Qilin Lake. When you, I made this tea actually this week in front of the Qilin Lake, and the reflection of the light on the lake remind me of a little bit these colors: golden, green, blue, and of course these are lots of Chinese symbols and a lot of green that symbolizes the spring. We are in a spring mode, so let's enjoy this atmosphere. Now, since this tea is the least roasted from our set, it's one that can be brewed in a Juni teapot and not in a clay that is more porous, like we used in the last 2 weeks, a Duani and a Zesha. We don't want to use too many leaves, because what we want is that they open up well in the teapot. They must, what a nice sound. Gling, gling, gling. A good sign that they have been well roasted and that they did not pick any moisture. So the teapot round shape and the fact that it's very hot are going to be enough to help it to help the leaves open up. And when we close the lid, we turn it slightly to avoid water spilling out. Great. Now we can check here. But since these leaves are quite tightly rolled, we can take our time to let them open up. And so my idea also why I was very careful by brewing is since this clay does not absorb much the roasted aromas like the chardonnay, it's really going to be intense in terms of scents, but we don't want to push it too strongly in order not to get too much of the roasted aromas that are on the outside of the leaves. So we went slow, still pouring directly on the leaves so that when the flow of the water touches the leaf, it will make it turn, and this helps to open up the leaf. So since we did not use too many leaves, we are less concerned with getting a brew that is too strong. It's even if it's long, and actually we know from our study that the long aftertaste increases with time as we brew it longer, and so we're not afraid to brew it long. It's only going to make the taste more powerful with a better aftertaste. Okay. We can empty our cups like we are emptying our swords, our bed swords. Go away, go away. Okay, and now purity again. It looks a bit complex, all this, but it all has harmony. There's a common theme of flowers, of waves, golden colors. And if you have been following the stock market this week, you know one thing did not go down, it's the gold. And we have a golden color coming out. It's a golden theme. Yeah, beautiful color, very transparent, and the very fragrant smells are coming to my nose already. Let's increase the aesthetics of this chaxi with the harmonious chatur. And doesn't it look even better like this? Up. And all this centering, bringing everything back to the teapot. It did the job. I think it did very well. Excellent color, good transparency, and the smells. Here you go. So I hope you are also enjoying this tea at home. There's very little left in my inventory, so I really hope that this year's charcoal roasted dongding will be as good as last year's, or maybe even better, since the cold weather might announce lighter aromas even this year. Very silky taste, very smooth, and a nice mix of sweetness, nuttiness from the roast, but also fruitiness from this Dongding terroir. And really a very good example of the beauty of well done charcoal roast that preserved the aromas of the leaves of the tea and still on top gave it more depth, more sweetness, and you don't really feel a difference between where the roast starts, where the oxidation starts, where the tea taste ends, and where the roast ends. It all blends together beautifully, also thanks to this teapot. Let's check. We can see that the leaves have opened up very nicely inside the teapot. And when I move, they don't move at all. They remain taking all the space in the teapot. If I compare it with the class I did this afternoon, there are a bit of maybe a little bit fewer tea leaves because we are evening now and I didn't want to have a tea that is too strong. No, I see many people online. Thank you very much. As I'm sipping my second cup, let me read a little bit some of your comments. Terry, have today's tea. Great. We are having freeze warnings this morning. You see, it's not just in Taiwan, even in the US, it's still very cold for the early spring. Maria, when will you have on your shop this year's tea? So this is what I just try to answer this year. It will be a little bit delayed. So we have Bilochun, Sejichun, and Jinchuan now, but the Qingxin and the Dongding, we might have to wait almost until the end of April, and the same for Baozhong. Baozhong are already being done, some are already made, but they need there's a little bit more hand process to take away the stems, and when it's spring harvest, the bottleneck is very often this place where they take away the stems. It takes a bit time. Elizabeth writes, I brew the same tea, great. And Terry Todd mentions that it's a very balanced tea. Great means you did it well. Brewing this tea is not so easy because it has these two dimensions of oxidation and roast that you want to control. If a tea is not, if an oolong is not roasted, then it's simply about the freshness, getting this out. Here we want to get the freshness and maintain the roast to a certain level. So it's more tricky to brew this, and that's why also it's important to take a class to explain, understand this tea, and then brew it well. When it's a bit less hot, there are new, more fruity aromas that come out and that remain in the cup. I'm keeping the lid on my teapot to keep the leaves inside hot. The teapot is still quite hot. This will help with the second brew to extract more aromas from the leaves. Since we cannot preheat the teapot again, anyway, it's still warm enough. So let me do the second brew, and I will pour quite slowly again because the leaves have only released the aromas once. Voilà. Again, let's be careful not to make the water spill by turning the lid. And we're not pouring any hot water on top of the teapot. At this stage, it's not necessary. We can do this maybe on the fourth or fifth brew when the leaves start to be a little bit exhausted and need to be pushed. But so far, they don't need to be pushed, so we can simply fill the teapot with boiling water and wait. But we're not waiting too long. So you see, I didn't wait so long for the second brew. How long to wait? There's no rule. It really depends on your taste. Do you like it strong? Do you like it light? One thing is sure, the leaves need to open up completely to release the aromas harmoniously. Okay. Terry writes, I smell the charcoal in the wet leaves in the Juni pot, but the liquid brew is not so strongly charcoal flavored. That's how it should be. The charcoal smells are not the nicest smells, so it's good that they appear mostly in the teapot and that they remain there, and that you don't get them too much in the cup. So the way to do it is like we just did, by not brewing it too strongly, by also not putting the hot boiling water on the teapot. This helps to control the charcoal smells to a minimum, and indeed you will especially smell them here, but not so much in the teapot. Again, beautiful color, good transparency, and the little debris that you see are broken leaves that are, of course, floating and then sinking in the cup. This is not dirt, it's not dirty in any way, it's really only broken leaves. If you were drinking matcha, it would be broken, even grinded even smaller, and you would drink it. So this is completely organic material, and like a salad, you can drink it or you can leave it if you don't want, but it actually, when you are taking pictures, it helps to make the focus. That's why I don't like to filter it away, and it's like this. If you are not using a filter, you know how clean your tea is. If you take also if the brew is turbid, is it unclean? You would not know if you use a filter. If you are not using a filter, you can see how clear it is, how transparent it is. And so these little debris are not a problem because the rest of the brew is very clear. Elizabeth writes, finding it so sweet, silky and hydrating. I'm brewing it with just a few leaves and just love this tea. Thank you very much, Elizabeth. I'm glad that you enjoy it. And for a tea that is less than $10 for 25 gram, I think it's an absolute bargain in terms of skills, in terms also of how famous Dongding Oolong is, if you think about it. In the 1980s, this was really the most sought after tea in Taiwan. And it's only because now the fashion, the fad has turned to high mountain oolongs that this tea is so affordable. Otherwise, it might still be the most expensive, especially since it's so complex to make, because it requires both skills of doing the right oxidation level and then doing the right charcoal roasting, two skills that are very difficult to master. In many cases, actually, the farmers in Dongding, they do one, but not both. This is one of the few farmers that is doing both. So really very skilled. His fourth generation of tea farmers. This also explains why. And actually, there are even my Shaninshi farmer. He's actually only doing the farming. He only specializes on doing a very good job on using very little pesticides and fertilizers on his plantation, and he's subcontracting the production. Actually, he's subcontracting everything, the harvesting and the production. And when he roasts, like the 2019 roast, it's yet another person who is doing the roasting. So for this level of tea that is so difficult, very often it's different masters who do each step. Here we have one person doing both the oxidation and the roasting. And his last name, when I think about it, means harmony. So he's doing a really harmonious job, I feel. A very fitting family name. Excellent point about filters, right, Terry? And it's also, is this also called concubine? And asks Terry. No, the concubine name is reserved for the summer version from Dongding. We will probably brew it next week or in 2 weeks. We have two oolongs left from our sampler, the concubine and the autumn Dongding. So the summer is the concubine. This is simply, you could say, Dongding Oolong at its most traditional. The technical name is Hongshui Oolong, which means red water. Actually, it's more yellow water. To say that the oxidation is a bit higher and there is some roasting. Okay, let me show you the third brew. And thank you all for your comments today. So I'm pushing it by brewing it a bit faster. What you can do in the winter especially, or when it's cold, is to preheat the cups again. This is also one way to a bit time your brew. You never want to look at your watch. This will be a cause of stress. So we do everything relaxed. But there are many steps to do. Oop, here it's almost full. Let me empty it here. It's not exactly how it should be done, but my gentry is already full. But it has still enough space for these few drops. And sometimes what you can even do, if you don't want to waste this water that is completely clean, you can simply drink it, especially to rinse a bit your mouth and because if you want to experience the finesse and the light fragrances, the light aromas of teas, it's important also to be very sensitive to the water that you are making the tea with. So sometimes checking on the water, drinking the preheat water rather than the rinse water. With rinse, it feels like it's still a little bit dirty. So let's say the preheat water is a way to check on the quality of your tea and its taste. And it's by it kind of creates more silence on your tongue, on your palate, and this will make then the actual tea sound louder, have more impact on your taste buds once you drink it. Again, we like to center these cups because you could say from the Chaxi mandala, the mandala is creating a harmonious world. So in this world of harmony, what we are trying to create is finding a center for the universe. So here our center or for this story here, so the center of this story, this brew, it's the teapot. So everything kind of converges on the teapot. Also we are converging on the teapot, and the aesthetics are balanced between right and left, top and below, and there's these nice conversions, all these nice harmonious colors between green, blue, gold that we find in the cup and on the chabu and the flower. It's really a moment of bliss, a moment of perfection, and I'm glad you were here today. Still very sweet on this third. Of course, it's normal that it changes a little bit its aromas from one brew to another, and we can still check on our leaves. Here, they're not even falling down. They are so well opened that they are taking really the whole space in the teapot perfectly. We can check on them. These leaves were roasted but have opened up completely, are completely green. These are the leaves we studied before, Qingxing Oolong, with red edges from the oxidation, and a very skillful light roast that did not make the leaves hard, charcoaled. Okay. Thank you very much for all your comments and questions today, and see you again next week for another tea class with me, Stéphane Herler. Give me a thumbs up if you liked this video, and a comment if you are wondering if you still have some questions. Yeah. And I'll see you next week. Bye bye.